Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to Pitch Perfect 2. This is in preparation for those that want to participate in Start Peninsula for the micro pitch. That will be happening 2 weeks from tonight. So if you have not applied to pitch, I encourage you to do so because there is only 3 slots left. So I am sure that it will sell out. And because you are either here watching this live or I will send out the recording to those that registered. We'll have a secret for those that are attending live. You'll get credit for being here. For those that were unable, there will be a secret phrase later on in the broadcast. Just email us back what that phrase is. That way we'll give you credit for being here. Because the whole idea is with the micro pitch, we don't want to charge anybody to pitch. We ask for that $50 to secure your ticket because we want to make sure everybody shows up. We sell out every single time. And then if there's no skin in the game, so to speak, then it's really easy for people not to show up. And because it does sell out every time, we want to make sure that everybody that wants to pitch has the opportunity to do so. So 1, you'll be able to learn how to pitch. 2, when you do participate 2 weeks, we will refund the money for that pitch ticket the very next morning. So it does not cost you anything to pitch. Are you seeing my I'm sharing my screen. Do you see the Pitch Perfect? All right. Good,
yes.
Good. Mm-hmm. Perfect. All right. So we will get into it. I am Tim Ryan. I've been doing Start Peninsula from day 1. So I think this is year 14. Seen a lot of people pitch. So all good there. And I remember a lot of people as well. So we'll teach you the elements of everything that you need to go. So in terms of what we're looking at today, we'll break it out into 2 different sections. We'll give you the elements of the pitch and then give you the opportunity to ask questions. And if you want to practice your pitch, then you can go ahead and do that. And then I'll give you some feedback. Generally, I'm always accompanied by my co-host of the event, Gary Plague. Gary cannot be with us tonight. He is in Europe, so it is like 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning right now there. So if you, Gary and I have been doing this long enough that I know his part pretty well. But if you want to ever check out what he has to say, all of our videos are on the Start Peninsula YouTube channel, so you can go back and take a look. But that is what the agenda is. We'll go ahead and we'll go get started with the elements of the pitch. So for the purpose of this is a what you should be focused on for your 3-minute pitch. And generally, the reason we pick 3 minutes is because that is just that is like a pretty standard amount of time when you do different pitch type of events. But with that, you can tailor that however you wish. But the first thing that we like to do is let's break down what those 3 minutes look like. Because a lot of times a lot of people just don't know. They will get up there, or in this case, they'll sit in front of the computer and they will just start to ramble. Before they know it, 3 minutes is come and gone. And then the judges are not able to evaluate you on the criteria because you didn't get to finish what you're going to be judged on. Because you're here tonight, this breaking down this 3 minutes and everything that we're teaching you here, this is the judges' criteria that they are measuring against. So we're giving you the answers to the quiz. And I say that kind of joking because this is not meant to stump anybody. We want to give you the answers to how this is done because you will be using this for the rest of your journey as you continue down your entrepreneurial road. So let's break out what that 3 minutes looks like. Again, this can be adjusted in any particular type of order within reason. The big thing is that this can be adjusted in terms of the amount of time that you spent. This is not exact. Your attention getter does not have to be exactly 10 seconds. So if it's 5 seconds, that's great. You can move it to another section. But an attention getter, 10 seconds, and we'll go into all this stuff in more detail. Then we're going to identify what that problem is, the opportunity that you are addressing. You can talk about that for 50 seconds. Now, what happens here for Pitch Perfect is you're not expected to have a pitch going into this. you can just, if you have a piece of paper and a pen, just start writing down like the problem that I'm trying to solve is. Just spell it out in just a few sentences. And it doesn't have to be elaborate. It doesn't have to be. It just really that easy. This is what I'm doing. This this is the problem that I'm solving. Then we're going to talk about the solution for 50 seconds. The way that I am solving this problem is I'm doing this. This is how I solve it. So you talk about that for 50 seconds. Then you can go into your name. My name is Tim Ryan. I am the Executive Director of Innovate Hampton Roads. I also am the Program Manager for Start Peninsula, and I help people learn how to pitch. So 10 seconds there, just because now you have everyone's attention. They have a reason to want to know who you are. And the thing is, since we do everything on Zoom, everyone knows your name because it's located in the bottom of your screen anyway. So they already know. So we just keep on going. So like other things that you can include in that one-liner is, or in that 10 second, your company one-liner. So like, as I said, I'm Tim Ryan. I'm the Executive Director of Innovate Hampton Roads, and I teach people how to pitch. Yeah, like that's my one-liner for tonight. So just a way that people can remember you. Then we're going to move right into the target market, 50 seconds there. And then you're closing for 10 seconds. And that could be your company one-liner again. That's just kind of some buffer, but that's your 3 minutes. And if you want to take or I'll tell you what the things are that are in the judge's rubric. It is the problem. It is the solution. It's your target market. And then the fourth judging criteria is the quality of your pitch. So it's those things. And so like, if you don't think about how you're going to address those things, so like say if you talk too long on the problem and you don't get into your target market, well, guess what? By default, you're going to get marked down on your score for target market. And because if you didn't hit all the things that you needed to be judged on, then you're going to be hit on the quality of your pitch. So you've kind of like just shot yourself in the foot. So you want to make sure that you hit those things. But that's how your 3 minutes is. Again, this is not like exact science. You can, if you can sum up your problem in 40 seconds and you need 60 seconds for the target market, that's totally cool. We just want to make sure that you're able to hit the core things that you need to hit so that you are judged and evaluated in the best way possible so that you can move on. And the thing is, typically, of the people that advance, so the way that the micro pitch works is it's limited to 10 people. The top 3 people will advance to the championship pitch that will be held on November 5th. Of the 3 people that advance, 2 of the 3 are always people that attended Pitch Perfect because it's just because they know what to say. I mean, Gary and I can do just about everything other than do the pitch for you. But like this is really the blueprint of what it is that you need to capture and how it needs to be structured. So what we're going to do now is I'll go into each of these areas that you're going to be judged just to give you some ideas in terms of what it is that you should think about when you're talking about the problem and the opportunity. Before we get there, in the grand scheme of things, I want to talk about the secret sauce that you need to be looking for your business, and that is it's the flywheel. You're going to need these 3 things once you're in business and for as long as you're in business. And the reason that I share this now is that Start Peninsula is just one event, one night, 2 nights if you when you go through the championship pitch. It's just two stops along your journey, and you are going to need this for as long as you continue on with your journey. So you're going to need a product, you're going to need a team, and you're going to need customers. And so like that should be like that is what you're looking for, and that's what you're working towards forever and ever. Amen. And with all 3 of those things, you're going to grow. And without them, you have just an idea. And ideas are not, they're not worth anything. Validated ideas is where the money is and a successful business is. And the reason this is a flywheel is it like, if you have a team that is working on a great product, that product is then generating revenues and making consumers and customers happy. The happier the customers are, that means that you're able to invest that money back into the team to create a better product, which is going to give you more customers. So it's like happy customers means generating revenue. When you're generating revenue, you're able to continue to improve your team. The better the team, the better the product, so on and so on and so on. So those are the three things that you really, beyond Star Peninsula, I want you to focus on. All right, let's talk about the problem. And this is the ways that we can break that down. So things to consider here. Again, 50 seconds, don't go long. People that do not attend Pitch Perfect, they will go, about 99% of the time they go long. And then again, like then they don't talk about the market, or they'll gloss over the solution. And a lot of times I attribute that to the fact of like, it's easier to be confident about the problem, or you want to make sure that you hit like everybody that may feel this pain point. So like if you are, if you're an author and you're trying to sell this book, you're going to be like, oh, well, this age group would benefit from this, and women would benefit from this. And you start trying to like make sure that you frame it in a way that everybody feels that pain point. I don't want you to hedge. I want you to focus on the biggest sector, the biggest group of people that are feeling this pain point and need this problem solved, and hone in on them. So cut out all that other noise so that you don't go over that 50 seconds. And people are visual learners. So again, with the whole storytelling aspect, like I want you to think about this when you have this problem. If you describe it in the sense of like, my friend Gary has, he's supposed to be in Europe, or he is in Europe. He's affected by jet lag. He can't fall asleep. What do you do? And so like when you're taking your audience through that journey, you can picture yourself being away on vacation, not being able to sleep, and then that's easy to relate. And then because people are visual learners, they're going to remember that. And like the purpose of this pitch, I want you to take your listeners through this journey, letting them like visualize what that pain point is, and then visualizing that pain point being relieved and solved based on the solution that you are talking about. So really paint that in a visual story. Tell that story. You're taking us through that customer journey. I also want to make sure that like this is a great time. You want to be able to identify how big that problem is. You'll be able to get into this in a little bit more detail when you're talking about your market. But like you can say, hey, Gary's not alone. There's 50 million people that fly to Europe every single month, or whatever that number is. But just identifying that, hey, this is a really, really big problem, and it is one worth solving. Hey, and this is the way that we're going to solve it. So those are the things to hit on there. The other thing that worth mentioning is that typically highly technical people get down in the weeds and talk about it in a really technical way, and then that eats up a ton of time. So like if you listen to a Jeff Bezos, or if you listen to an Elon Musk, talking about space travel, they don't go into the nuts and bolts, like the literal nuts and bolts about how these rocket engines through SpaceX or Blue Origin are created. They keep things very high level, and you understand like, hey, We're launching, it goes into orbit, we returned it back to land. It's a reusable thing. So super high level, no need to go super technical. All right. So for those that are watching this online, pitch to win is the secret phrase. Just email that back to us, start@startpeninsula.com or Tim at startpeninsula.com, and then we'll get you credit to that you watched this. So pitch to win is the phrase to reply back with. All right, the solution. We want to focus on that idea and that innovation, and things to consider is that your audience does not know you. The judges do not know you. So you can't assume that they know what you are talking about. You really have to look at this from like, does this pass the mom test? Does this pass a 3 or 4, 5, 6-year-old test? They need to be able to understand it. So you can't assume that, oh, well, I've met Tim before. He knows what I'm talking about, so I don't have to go into that kind of detail. Well, you do, because people, like the judges want to see you win. They want to see you succeed. You just have to assume that they do not know you and you are starting from square one. So again, is the problem big enough? So as I mentioned in the previous slide, how big is the problem? Is the problem big enough? We want to make sure that the judges really understand that, like, hey, is this a problem? Is this something that like only a dozen people in the world have a problem with this? Or is this like something that 6 billion people have this problem? And if you want to have an investable business, something that is venture scale, that problem has to be really, really big. That total addressable market needs to be really, really big. So is the problem big enough? And then how are you doing this different? And how are you doing this better? And the you is really, really important. This is not the time to talk about how other people are doing it poorly. This is about how you are being innovative. This is how you came up with a better solution. You want to keep the focus on you and how you are making the difference. And even today, if it's not done 10 times better, I want you to think about how you will be, can be, and should be doing this 10 times better when that product is out. And the 10x is key, because if you want to change someone's behavior, you have to do it 10 times better than the current status quo, or else people are going to resort back to how they currently do it. And the example that I like to use is Uber. So like back in the day, all we had was the hope and prayer that we had a cab, or we knew the cab phone number, and that there was one that was near us. Well, Uber, you have the phone, you hit a button, it comes to pick you up. There's no cash. You know the ratings. You know what time you're getting dropped off. You can tip. You don't have to tip. You have safety pins. You have all. It's clearly 10 times better than the traditional taxi cab method. So it was very, very easy to change consumer behavior because it was so much better than the status quo. That's what I want you to start thinking about and gearing towards. So like from a storytelling aspect, it's like, hey, Audible, is a lot better than cave paintings, in terms of like sharing information from one generation to the next. So like just thinking about that. The team is part of the flywheel. So like this is we're solving this problem through the team. So things to consider here is like, this is your opportunity to showcase your strengths. So like if you have something centered around, being an author, for example, or if you're teaching people how to publish books, one of those cases, strengths might be, hey, I'm a 7-time published author. I know how to do this. I do it so many times that I can do it in my sleep. I know how to do it better, cheaper, faster. I know it's 10 times better than what currently is out there. So showcase your strengths. What is your experience? Do you have any intellectual property? Do you have any patents? Do you have any certifications? What about your team? this is your time to really, really brag on yourself and what you're able to do. One of the things that a lot of people will overlook is, or that they'll view it as a sense of shame, is if they were a previous founder and that did not work and they failed. And like that is a strength. Like me, I'm an angel investor as well, and I've invested in dozens of companies. I will invest in a second time or a third time founder before I would invest in a first time founder, because the things that they learned along the way, whether through being successful or through failure is way more valuable than someone trying to figure everything out for the very first time. So use that as a strength. I really want you to lean into, why are you the ones to solve this problem? I'd be like, this is something like, this is where your real passion has to come out. And like, you can't fake this. This is something that is just really, really authentic. And like, there's certain people you're like, man, I know no matter what, they're going to solve this problem and they're going to put it all on the line in order to be successful. So why are you the ones to do it? So that's how we talked about the problem. We've talked about the solution. We're going to talk about the market or the marketability. And the things to consider here is, this is where you identify who your customers are. And again, I don't want you to hedge. I want you to pick your core customer profile and stick to that. We can expand later, but whoever you think you're going to be able to sell the most of and the most to, that is who we want you to focus on. And we want you to demonstrate the understanding of that market. You need to, one, it's really easy if you're solving your own problem because you understand the pain point firsthand. But this is, if you investors know, or in this case, the judges know that you understand that market, it just speaks volume, because no one knows the pain point better than you. I mean, they are this age, they are this gender, they are typically in this type of, I'm just making things up, income bracket, or they live in this type of neighborhood, for whatever the case might be. But you really need to understand. It could be like, hey, they're a first year med student that is studying some specialized type of study or organ type or whatever, and the market is big enough that it needs to be solved. So like, you really need to understand who it is you're selling to, who you need to focus on to show that you understand the market. And again, I want you to focus really, really small. Like, when you think that you've got it narrowed down, you challenge yourself to try to narrow that focus down even smaller. Like I said, then you can expand over time. But when you first are getting started, you have to understand who your customer is, what the pain points are, and they're going to tell you everything that you need to know in order to be successful. On the flip side, if you're not solving that problem, then you're not going to get traction, and your business may not be successful because the need may not be there. The problem may not be there that needs to be solved. We don't ever want to see anyone fail. But the whole idea is, if you're going to fail, we want you to fail really, really fast. And that's the whole purpose of what Start Peninsula is. Before you max out credit cards, before you take a mortgage out on your home, before you quit your job, we want to find out that, hey, let's validate this idea, find out that this is something that really needs to be solved, and then we can go bigger and bigger and bigger. Same thing with the customer focus. Do you have customers right now? And if you do, how are you delighting those customers? What are they saying? Do you have a rating on Google, on the App Store, the Google Play Store? What are they telling you? How long have you had your longest customer? How long does your customer typically stay active before they no longer are customers? Anything that you can talk about how you're delighting customers and communicating with them, is really, really valuable because you're validating what you're doing with your customers. We want you out there talking to them. Even if you don't have a product, do you have a newsletter with a waiting list of people that are waiting for you to release this? How many people do you have on that list? How quickly is that list growing? Are you keeping them engaged? Those talk to your customers. So many founders are afraid to talk to your customers. You cannot be. And one of the things that's really interesting when it comes to talking to your founders is like, hey, assuming you have a product that is out or you have a minimal viable product, how are you using the product? Are they using it the same way that you intended them to use it? And if the answer is no, you may have found and uncovered a whole new revenue stream that you never even thought about that or knew that you had. And so now you can leverage that revenue stream as well. So I can't stress enough to get out there. Your customers are going to tell you everything that you need to know. This is all still part of like the execution piece. Without execution, this arguably is part of the solution as well. But execution is key. And the things to consider here is like, what is your why? Why are you starting this business? And the answer can't be because it's good. Yeah, it's going to make me a ton of money and I'll be able to retire early. I mean, it's just like, what is your why? Why would you take this crazy journey of being an entrepreneur? Because it's going to be really, really hard. And a lot of things have to go really, really right. And it's an infinite number of things that can go really, really wrong. And if your why is in place the day that you have the morning that you have that really, really tough time getting out of bed, the why is what's going to get you out of that bed. That's what's going to get you up, dust yourself off, and go after it again. It was a tough day for me today. I had to dust myself off. I'm here with you all tonight because the founders is what matters the most to me. That is my why. How are you going to make this a reality? We it's This is like is just showing people the vision that you have. Like first, like even if your goal is to have like a Michelin star restaurant, that's great, but it's going to take a long, long time to get there. How are you going to do that? Does it mean that you start with, you have your own little commercial ghost kitchen kind of thing and you start delivering orders to people and then you move to a food cart that moves to a food truck? Then you are able to get into your first storefront and then just continuing to build out your operation to become bigger and bigger and bigger, but thinking about what that roadmap looks like and how are you. So many founders like to think about what they need in order to make something possible, but like I challenge you to think about what can I do today to get me to that next step, and that next step being reality. So like, because an investor is not going to give you money just based on an idea. I mean, like you have to have skin in the game. And so like you have to have skin in the game, you have to be all in. But the way that like when it works with investors is it is I totally blanked out of my train of thought. It is a milestone based business. And what I mean by that is like, yeah, you want to get to become a Michelin star restaurant, but we're not just going to give you $50 million so that you can become one. It's like you have to hit certain milestones one step at a time. And then, all right, you got your first review done by a restaurant critic. Then we're going to unlock the next tranche of money. But like, so you set a goal, you succeed in that goal, and then that unlocks additional money so that you can go to your next step. So this is the same deal. How am I going to make this reality? This is my roadmap into making this possible. And this is where I ultimately want to go. And with that, investors invest in the people. They don't invest in the idea. Again, ideas are not worth anything. Validated ideas is where everything is. So when they see that you're talking to customers, they see that you're all in, they see you're going to make this a reality, they see that you've got the team, they see that you're working on a product, like all these things, that is building the confidence of everybody around you. And that's why they're betting on you, the person, to make that happen. I hear great ideas all the time. And I wish that I had time to make great ideas, great businesses. And unfortunately, a lot of times, I hear great ideas and I'm just like, man, this is not the person that's going to execute on this. There's no way they can make it a reality. I mean, it's just how it is. So again, I can't stress enough, a validated idea is much, much greater than just an idea itself. So that's just a foot stomper there. If in the event there's extra time that you have and you want to be able to fill it, the secondary audience that we have, this is a great time to tell them what it is that you need. Like, hey, I am not a technical founder. I need somebody that has technical experience. I need someone who can code. I need someone that can do graphic design or marketing or sales, whatever the case is. Have that in your hip pocket. Also, have that ready to go because that could be a question that the judges have. So after your 3-minute pitch, then we open up the floor to questions. We have 3 judges. Each judge has an opportunity to ask one question. After all 3 judges ask their question, then you, the pitcher, have 2 minutes to answer each of those questions. All 3 questions. You don't get 2 minutes per question. You answer all 3 questions within that 2 minutes. And a popular question that is asked by the judges is, hey, it sounds like you got everything. The pitch is great. It seems like the business is going really well. Why are you here and what do you need? What do you hope to get out of this? So, having thought through that and having that in your back pocket is always beneficial. But other things to consider, leveraging vulnerability as a strength and don't view that as a weakness. A lot of founders, they want to show that they're all macho and they got the answers to everything, that they don't need any help. And then what happens is now they're not coachable. And because they're not coachable, then mentors, investors, that may turn them off. They're like, if you already know all the answers, then what do you need me for? They're like, you don't need my assistance. You don't need my mind. You don't need my, like, it doesn't sound like you need my money either. So like, hey, understanding that I don't have all the answers and I really, really need some help. It's amazing to me how the entrepreneurial community will come through and provide the things that you need to be helpful. So the big thing is like, if you don't share what it is that you need, then no one knows how they can help you. And so they go about their business. But if they know that, hey, I need someone that knows like how to be like a really, really awesome front end web developer or graphic designer so that my website looks good. That's like super easy. Hey, I know the best person. He loves startup founders and he will totally work with you in a reasonable way to make this happen. But if you don't share what you need, then no one knows how they can help. This is another little added bonus for you all in terms of like the secret sauce that I think that, like this is like the mindset of someone who is listening and evaluating. Is it like, so if you skip over the problem, then there is no need. So you have to, by telling the problem, you're talking about the need. If you don't talk about the solution, then what I hear is that you do not have a product. And if you don't talk about your market, then I don't hear a way how your business can grow. And if you don't talk about your traction, what I'm hearing is you don't have any customers. This is jumping ahead a little bit because we're not asking this for the first round of the micro pitch, but come November, when you're in the championship pitch, no business model tells me that you're not making any money. And the thing is, like, that always can evolve. I mean, it's like, I guess as I think about that, like, I don't, how much do we even pay for Amazon Prime anymore? Couldn't even tell you. It just they hit our credit card every year, and so like that changes. I don't even want to think about what it was before. It's probably like $60 or something several years ago, and now it's probably like 120, $130. So like that's a model that continues to change. Same thing with Netflix. I don't even know what that is. They just take it out every month. But like these people, they know what that model is. They're like, hey, if we raise your Amazon Prime subscription from 120 to $130 a year, and we have like 100 million people that are Amazon Prime subscribers, well, geez, that just means that like that's $1 billion that they just increased in money because they know what that business model is. So thinking about that model and how that equals into money, when you don't talk about your team, then there's no one to execute. So I get it. This is like total idea, business validation aspect. Like you may not have a team yet, but I want you to start thinking about this is who I need to round out my team. My first person that I want to bring on is, and knowing what that, what the quality of that person is. And with that, I want you, it should be someone who offsets the way that you think and operate. You don't need to hire someone who's exactly like you, that has the exact same skill sets as you, because now you have two people doing the same thing and not addressing the things that need to get done. So think about who that team is if you need to expand into that. And then finally, like if you don't, this truly is a performance when you're pitching. And if there is not a performance, then no one's going to have a memory of it. And so like again, I typically remember a lot of pitches because the performance was either really good or it was not so good. But if you have a great performance, you're going to have a great memory. People are going to remember you for a long time. So this is the time that I normally kick things over to Gary. Um, I will fill in some tricks of the trade. And the reason that we would split things up is because I am on the business side. I talk about the things that should be talked about from the business aspect, from someone who's worked with thousands of founders, helped raise millions of dollars in capital for founders. I get that side. Gary is someone, he is a performance coach. He understands how to make that performance memorable. And he looks at it from that standpoint. So practice, practice, practice. It just seems super obvious. It's amazing some of the stuff that we hear. Like I can tell you, like you almost need to be like a radio DJ in the sense of like how long 30 seconds is when you're reading a radio spot. Like you should know where you need to be after for the 50 seconds for the problem and the 50 seconds for the solution in the market. You should that internal clock, you should know that. Record yourself in front of a camera. Listen to it back. It's super uncomfortable. I get it. I hate it. It just I don't know if there's anyone that dislikes watching themselves on camera more than me, but it's super, super valuable. Another thing that I recommend people do, transcribe that pitch, highlight all the filler words, all the ums, us, knows, I mean, all of those things, highlight those. We're only talking about 3 minutes, and in 3 minutes, there's only so many words that you can say. So if you eliminate those filler words, you can replace those filler words with more impactful pieces of information that could be the difference between you advancing and you not. But really, practice. It's only a 3-minute pitch. If you grab a coworker, grab a friend, hey, do you mind if I practice this? And really, I cannot stress that enough. In the way that, because the way that you practice is also going to be the way that you perform. So when you're performing, the night of the performance, 2 weeks from tonight is not the time to call an audible and say, oh, I'm changing things up a little bit. I want to try this new line. Like this is totally not it. It will dork everything up and you're gonna run out of time. It's just it doesn't work well. It's practice, practice, practice. And the way that you practice is how you're going to perform. Don't start with a question. It wastes time. Again, you only can say so many words in 3 minutes. Everyone starts with or not. I'm jumping at. But what if you asked a question of, hey, how's everyone doing tonight? You're on Zoom. Nobody can answer. You're not going to hear anybody and no one's going to reply. Or how many of you have ever experienced this? Well, what if no one has ever experienced it? One, you're waiting for people to respond. And then no one responds. They haven't experienced. Now that's messing with your mojo. And you're like, well, man, maybe I'm the only one with this problem. And it's not even worth solving. So now that's under you're second guessing yourself there. Don't start with a question. It's just don't jump right into it. Don't start with your name. They don't care yet. They already see your name. Gary is the night of the micro pitch competition. Gary is going to introduce you. Ladies and gentlemen, next up, Tim Ryan from Innovate Hampton Roads. Go ahead, Tim. Done. It's already happened. We saved you the 3 or 5 seconds. Later on, once you identify that problem and the solution, they're like, who is this again? I really like what this has going on. Oh, man, that's Tim. I got to take note of that. I need to get with him after. So don't start with your name. They don't care. Delete everything irrelevant to your story. Like, we can't go out on these tangents. You can't go way out over here and then bring it back way over there. Like, it just does not work. 3 minutes. Stick to it. If it is not talking about your core, if it's not talking about the problem, again, we're not hedging. We're focusing on the biggest problem, the biggest pain point. We're focusing on a narrow audience. We're not trying to cast a huge net to capture as many people as we possibly can. We're not looking to like read when you have your slides. You don't have to read every word on the slide. People could read way faster than you can talk. Hit the highlights in your script when you're practicing. Be able to delete things that are not relevant to the story. This is a story and it is a performance. Again, go through the customer journey. Like if you look at the initial pitch for Uber, it was like, imagine yourself at a basketball game. You've had too much to drink. You know you can't drive home. You're not going to be able to get a taxi. Wouldn't it be great if you were able to push a button on your phone and then a car came to you and took you home safely? Like, a lot of people can that is something that they can relate to, whether firsthand or through the story of someone else. So like, think about it from that story. Think about it from that performance aspect and really, really focus on that. For every slide and every line, you need to ask yourself, does this enhance the story? And if it does, you keep it. If it detracts it, it's got to go. I mean, like, this is like no nonsense stuff here. We got to stick to the most impactful things. And again, it's just like adding stuff that is not part of what you initially scripted out. It's just detracting from it. Laser focused and stick with it. And that is it. That is how to contact me. That is how to contact Gary. The offer that we have for those people that are participating in the micro pitch 2 weeks from tonight is, hey, if you want to send us a recording, if you want to send us your script, feel free to do so. We'll read it, we'll review it, we'll give you feedback. We'll do all those things. And but just keep in mind, I am so busy. If you wait for the night before, if you wait 2 hours before the event, chances are I'm not going to be able to get to it. So please give Gary and I some grace. Give us an opportunity. We'll get it turned around. It is only 3 minutes. It takes a lot longer to provide the feedback, but we will get something back to you. We have the evolution of everything that has happened with some people that have pitched has been really that is what inspires me to continue to do this, because like, it could be from what people experienced at Pitch Perfect, or it could be someone who pitched last year and then came back this year because they just kept at it and just, we rewrote it. We redid it. We changed this. We changed that. We replaced this word with that word. And like those are the people that win. Those are the ones that just grind through it and they don't give up. It's really, really super cool to see that take place. Um, that's why I'm here. That's yeah. So some other things to think about would be, your slides. I would rather you focus on a super crisp 3-minute pitch than making sure that you have awesome slides with a lousy pitch. I mean, it just a lot of people think that they need to focus on this. They'll put all their attention on the slide. I want you to focus on the pitch. We can and get that right. Slides matter, but out of the gate, let's focus on what needs to be said. Gary and I typically talk about like a 6x6 rule. 6 lines, no more than 6 lines per slide, no more than 6 words per line. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, you got to be careful of this. That a video is worth 1,000 pictures. This is where the practice comes into play. I don't recommend I'm not saying record your pitch, put it, and then you hit play the night of the pitch stuff. That's not going to work either. But I want you to show, not tell. If you can show what the product looks like, I would much rather see that on slides than you tell me about what it's going to look like. Again, that's just going to take up a ton of time. You're like, hey, and here's what the prototype of my app looks like. Hey, they log in. So this is the part that could be automated in terms of animation video type stuff. This is what the app looks like. They go to the home screen, they sign in. Once they sign in, then they're able to select it, whatever it is that they want, and then verify their address. The next thing you know, it's there. If you're able to walk someone through that way, you're showing them as opposed to telling them. And again, we are visual learners, so think about that from the story aspect. Super, super important. Think about questions that scare the heck out of you. Prepare for those questions. I've seen for the Q&A aspect, the judges want to see you win. They want to see you succeed. What I have found is that when judges are behind what it is that you're doing, the tougher the question is. They see the vision. They get it. They want to see you succeed. So they'll ask things of oh man, they're not there yet. This is an idea of validation competition. But the judges, they tend to do that. They will, and we brief them. We talk to them beforehand. They go through some training beforehand, but the night of the event doesn't always work out that way. But it is what it is. That said, I have seen people talk themselves in to the top 3 based on Q&A, and I've seen people talk themselves out of the top 3 because of the Q&A. Stick to the question, answer the question, and move on. That's why, this competition, we added the Q&A aspect and we limited it to 2 answers because we want to teach you all to be really, really succinct and move on. If we didn't put a time limit on that, oh my gosh, who knows how long it would take for people to answer these questions. But if you do it in a succinct way, then that will prevent that from happening. But also, if you're oh man, I totally missed this paragraph of my pitch, and you're answering the question, you'll be like, oh yeah, there's one more thing that I would like to share, about my market. Then you can add that in there as well, But generally, people do well when it comes to the Q&A because that's when it comes from the heart. That you can't, like I said, you can't fake that. It's not scripted. And that's when people generally do pretty well. What questions do you all have for me? And I can continue to add more commentary. It's great for that you all attend this Pitch Perfect. All these Pitch Perfects, they follow the same deck, but like the questions, the interaction, that all that stuff is different from each one. Yeah.
Okay, so I had a quick question about being that I have previous experience with my business, and my business is actually coming off of the previous business. So it's like a elevated experience from what I did. Is that good to mention within my pitch?
Yeah, I mean, I think the businesses that are always like you're looking to pivot, you're taking information that you've gathered, um, and you're it's that part of that continuous improvement process. Yeah, like yeah, here you can talk about how you've answered what you have heard from your customers. Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome, Matthew.
Hi, thank you so much. Yeah, I was wondering if I could, state what I learned. Don't want to call it obvious, but that by having richness in terms of details of, say, graphs and data tables, things like that, um, the judges are keen, right? And so there you go. I appreciate that big time.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it's like, and like one of the things that I see a lot is like when you have like if you put decide to put a team slide up there, a lot of people feel the need to like talk about every person that's on the team, or if it's two people on the team and you have three advisors or mentors, people a headshot, name, and like a couple bullets of what makes them special, logo of what a company they worked for, or, with or from or whatever. Like people can read that super quick, and and you can save a lot of time in the sense you're like, hey, and here is my team. There's three of us, and we have some world class advisors that are helping us along. That have been, they come from Google and IBM or something. Super something you don't have to gloss over ever or go into detail over every single person. Yeah,
Okay, so I have another quick question. So with my company that I had and everything, it's like I was in a partnership and I'm going solo now. And so I like the fact that you mentioned that, not having a team, like it's a weakness of mine right now as far as finding everybody that I need to put into place and everything like that. Everything else is like there, but is that okay to be able to mention like I'm in a rebrand from the company and I'm going to be looking for like obviously mentorship because that's really big for me. Or potentially partnership because the business that I did have, it like kind of like took over really fast. And then I found myself as a one man band and I got stressed out and I couldn't handle what happened. And so I just want to know, like, I just, I'm always like the tough girl and I just don't want to be I want to be vulnerable as possible because I really want to see this vision go to the next level, but I do need help.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like I not all partnerships make it, and and yeah, I'm sure that you've learned a lot through that whole process, and yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, and like just the amount that I can only imagine what you learned through that journey, and like now those are all things that shouldn't happen again, and that are really really easily avoidable for you. So yeah, I mean, I don't think that you need to go like you don't have to get in there and start spilling tea and getting into drama or whatever, but like yeah, but like if you're just like, hey, like this is a more focused uh attempt at what we were doing before,
Mhm.
and that breaking off from my what my previous venture, then that's totally cool.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because like obviously I don't want to put that person down like because it was the partnership had to
Yep.
go separate ways, but it's just like we left money on the table and I'm just like I'm not happy with that because like even still to this day people are still asking for me to come back. And so
Yeah.
I'm operating on this window right now of just trying to make sure that I do everything right, in retrospect, but make sure I set up everything in place to
Yep.
not get burnt out.
You'd be surprised how many and it's nuts. like at the beginning of a venture, everything is, I mean, it's like the newlyweds, the beginning honeymoon phase of that business marriage. And I like, hey, do you have an operating agreement? Oh, we're 50-50. Everything's going to be great. And it's like, all right. But you'd be surprised. There's a lot of breakups that happen. And so one, you've learned a lot. And then two, going forward, when it comes to bringing on people, you'll better than most what needs to be in an operating agreement. And, that, yeah, you've got unfinished business to solve. Any questions that anyone has, or if anybody wants to practice, they're more than welcome to do that. And I can give you my feedback. If not, then, feel free to send something my way. Yeah.
The difference between this micro pitch and if you make it to the final pitch, what's the time difference?
In terms of the pitch itself,
Yeah.
both are 3 minutes.
Oh, really? Okay. So, okay.
Both are 3 minutes. But there'll be some additional information that goes into the championship pitch that will get it like that will add like how do you plan to make money, touching on your business model kind of thing.
Okay.
But so instead of like 50 seconds, 50 seconds, 50 seconds, it narrows it down to like I can't think what it is offhand, but
Yeah. So
narrows it down a little bit more.
you're not taking this pitch into the final if you make it through.
No.
Okay.
And so yeah, and that's a really good question because I was trying to pull up that the other slide deck. With the reason being is like we want to make sure that like the people that participate in these micro pitches that they continue with that business. So like what got you here isn't going to get you there.
Yeah.
So like if you're stagnant and you didn't do anything, you're gonna get beat out by someone who's like, yeah, when I first pitched at micro pitch 2, I had one customer. Now I have 100. And it just shows how bad you want it. So by design, we want to one stretch what it is that you need from a pitch standpoint, and then two, this is your opportunity to show the progress that you made from the last time you pitched. So that's why I think there's an advantage for people to pitch at micro pitch 1 or micro pitch 2, because you can show the progress that you made until November. A lot of I get it. I procrastinate on things too, but like some people, like when you pitch in October, man, you don't give yourself a ton of time to show like what kind of progress that you've made in November.
Yeah. A follow-up question to that would be, so in this micro pitch, you talked about identifying your target market. Let's just say my target market is small business. Is it okay to acknowledge that in the micro pitch and then get more narrow in if I just so happen to make it through? Because to get more narrow would involve more words in the pitch, and I'm trying to like simplify it, at least for this pitch.
Well, I think that small business is pretty broad.
It is.
If you could narrow that down to a couple, like there's got to be a couple certain verticals or sectors that you're trying to. If you can do that, then that would be great. But so again, this is like my point about why these questions are so good. Is like when you talk about your market, a lot of times you'll talk about like the total addressable market, your TAM.
Yeah.
And so like what I don't want to see someone just like go into ChatGPT and say, what's the size of the commercial real estate market? It'll come back with like 30 trillion. And so like that's a top down total addressable market calculation. Because we know you're not going to get 30 trillion. You're not competing for $30 trillion of business. Now, if you're like, I want to focus on, population size, cities with the population of 100,000 people or less, and then you start like narrowing that down, then that 30 trillion becomes a much, much smaller number.
Yeah.
And then so like that's what's called a bottom up TAM assessment. So like we want you to show that you're putting a little bit of thought into like what does that narrowed market look like. But yeah, I would love to see what your pitch looks like, just to see how we can like narrow down what that small business segment looks like. And if you have any questions along the way, feel free to send something over, and I'll happy to address those. But yeah, I look forward to seeing you all in a couple weeks. And we'll get this recording out. Have fun with this, and yeah, wish you the very, very best.